Vietnam is constantly talked about as one of the cheapest places in the world to live, but being cheap and being a good place to retire doesn't go hand in hand. If you're retired or just looking into living here long term, you're probably worried about stuff like healthcare, cost of living, easiness of life, and how far your retirement or investments can go. You probably care about safety, the social aspect, and how easy it is going to be to find everything here that you need, as well as the transportation, food, and what kind of living accommodations can you have. But in general, you want to know, will retiring here or will staying here long term be an upgrade from your current life? So today we're going to look at Vietnam specifically as a retirement destination and talk about all the important things that retired people or almost retired people need to know when coming here to Vietnam. I'm gonna go through the pros, the cons, the truth, and in the end, I'm going to tell you, do I really think Vietnam is a good place to retire? Number one is the cost of living, and this one is extremely hard to beat. Most places can't beat this, and most other pros of Vietnam can't even beat this being the biggest reason people come here. I mean, if you're coming here with Social Security, a retirement pension, investments, a high yield savings account payout, if you're coming here with any kind of retirement portfolio, you're pretty much well off. A Social Security pension or just retirement savings, it can last you forever. And if you're getting it every single month, I mean, that will pretty much pay for you the rest of your life. And you could live an enjoyable life here. For one retired person, I want to say $1,200–$1,300 a month, you're living good here. For a retired couple, about $2,000–$2,100 a month, you're living extremely good here. But your pension, Social Security, whatever it is, it's going to cover that by itself. You can find a really comfortable apartment for around $350 per month. I got mine for $285 per month in a good area in Benton district, right next to District 1, 2, 3, 7. I mean, everything I need. I'm next to a US embassy as well. Vietnamese meals can cost just a few dollars, 1, 2, and maybe even 3 for some nicer meals. Western meals or other foods you're used to back home, those can also cost only between 4 to 6, maybe $8 if you're getting a bit more pricey. Transportation is also very affordable, and you don't really have to stress about grocery shopping or looking for things you need because everything else is also very affordable as well. You can always look around between malls, markets, shopping centers, and everything to compare prices, and I guarantee you're going to find something cheaper than what you thought you might even have to pay for. So I'm going to say this: $1,000 a month is doable, $1,500 a month is comfortable, $2,000 a month, you're living like a king. So purely on affordability, Vietnam gets a huge pro. There is one thing that retirees care more about than just the cost of living, and that is healthcare. Healthcare can be the most important thing someone's looking for when determining what country, state, city, province, whatever that they want to retire in. Healthcare here can be much more affordable than what you may be accustomed to in your hometown, especially if it's just routine checkups, basic treatments, or normal appointments. But for retiring, affordability isn't the only thing that matters when it comes to healthcare. Other big factors include the quality, accessibility, wait times, private rooms. Everything needs to be considered. Medications, health insurance, and even specialists. You want to know that if you already or if you in the future develop a serious condition, you will easily be able to access a specialist in that condition. That way you can stay healthy and enjoy your life here in Vietnam. And location does matter. Living in a major city is going to make it way easier, more accessible, and more affordable to get healthcare than living somewhere in the outskirts like a province or just outside in major cities. Healthcare can absolutely be a pro as long as you're staying in the right areas and going to the right private hospitals. So I'm going to give that a huge pro for Vietnam. With that being said, I'm not sponsored by anyone, but I would recommend looking into some kind of retirement or travel or overseas insurance. I personally think everyone uses safety wing. I don't have travel insurance, but if you are retiring, I definitely look into some kind of overseas retirement, travel insurance before you get here. You don't want to get here and be stranded. Hey, so Safety Wing, sponsor me. Now, we talked about the two biggest pros of most retirees, but something retirees also care about is how easy it's going to be to live in a country long term. And if you're retiring here, that's actually extremely important, which is why this is our first con, and it's probably the biggest con, and that's the visa problem. The visa. most of the time here, you're going to get only a 90-day tourist visa. They do have, special business visas and student visas, but those are extremely hard to get, and you're more than likely not getting it if you're retired. There's not a retirement visa, and they're just now starting to work on extended stay visas if you've been here 4 years or 5 years and learn the language and stuff like that. But for a retiree coming fresh into Vietnam and figuring out how am I going to stay here and retire here, you're pretty much going to have to do a visa run every 90 days. And that's the biggest con here, because imagine you finally gotten settled down, you found your apartment, you're getting into an everyday routine, and every 90 days you have to get up and leave the country because Vietnam doesn't have a dedicated retirement visa. So even if you are retirement age and you don't care about the border runs, not having a retirement visa itself could make it more difficult in the future if they do decide to change some visa rules with the border runs. If they decide to tighten down or make it more strict, it can be harder for someone who's retired here to not have to worry about, getting kicked out or packing up and going somewhere else. For retiring here in Vietnam, I'm gonna give visas a big con. Number 4 is something you'll probably care way more about at 65 than you do at 18, 21, 25. And that's going to be safety, peace, and quality of life. As there's not much crime, I personally haven't witnessed a crime, heard about a crime, been a victim of a crime. Nothing. Locals here are extremely nice. The crime rate here is way lower than my home country of America, even my home city of Jacksonville, which, hey, you can wake up, grab a coffee and banh mi for just $2 in total, sit down in a cafe or a park while you focus on your hobbies, go do something active like pickleball or badminton, take a walk on the beach or the riverside, and generally just enjoy a slower pace of life. And I know that slower pace of life may be really important for someone who's trying to just enjoy the rest of their life after working the previous 40-45 years. But once again, this does depend heavily on where you live. Central Saigon is definitely not what I call peaceful, even though that's where I live. It's definitely a good place to retire when you get into things like healthcare, cost of living, and accessibility to other things. If you really want that chill, kick back, cheaper lifestyle, places like Da Nang, Nha Trang, or Vũng Tàu are going to be way more appealing to a retiree. But if you don't mind the motorbikes, construction, and millions of people around you, I would say Saigon is definitely one of the easiest places you could retire. I've personally spent time in both Da Nang and Saigon, and I will say for a retiree, I do recommend Da Nang more. And make sure you pick a good location, because in Da Nang, not having a good location means you could be 40 minutes away from a hospital. While here in Saigon, you could be outside the city and still be close to everything you need. The next thing is easiness/convenience. How difficult is everyday life? And honestly, Vietnam can be ridiculously convenient. Food delivery, cheap transportation, convenience stores everywhere, cafes everywhere, laundry services, apartment cleaning. You can pay people to handle a lot of everyday tasks without spending a fortune. You could realistically live here without owning a car like I'm doing. But there's another side to that. The language barrier and cultural difference can make paperwork, healthcare, government-related issues, and banking much more difficult. And if you're older or have mobility problems, things like sidewalks, crossing the busy streets, or just moving around certain areas can be more difficult for you than what you may be accustomed to in your home country. And the last thing I think about before retiring here in Vietnam is going to be the social life, the community/loneliness. Are you actually going to be happy here? This is something you need to know before going all the way to the other side of the world. You can have a beautiful $400 apartment and $2 meals, but if your kids, spouse, family, friends, and entire support system are 8,000 miles away, that matters. You're also dealing with a different culture and more than likely a language you don't speak. For some people like me, that's actually the adventure you're looking for. For somebody else, it could be extremely isolating. I will say for younger people like me, or even older people who are willing to get out more, there are things like English clubs, language stations, and social events. You can also get into sports and stuff like that. Pickleball, badminton, running clubs. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to meet other expats or just Vietnamese people that speak English to build a nice social life. So when you come here, don't stay reserved. Get out there, get to know people, and don't be isolated. Don't ruin your trip because you decided not to get out there and make friends. Dating here can also be accomplishable at any age, as well as finding a new friend group, business partners, coworkers, or whatever it is you may be looking for. So for cost of living, I'm going with a big pro. For healthcare, I'm going with, once again, a big pro, but emphasizing location does matter. Visas, I'm going to give it a big con. The peace, I'm going to give it a big pro, once again, depending on your location. Convenience, I'm going to give it a pro with accessibility issues for someone who might be a bit older with mobility issues. And for community, it honestly depends on you. You have to get out there and socialize, or if you just prefer to stay to yourself. It just depends on how you want to live your lifestyle when you're out here retiring in Vietnam. For safety, I'm going to give it a big pro. So is Vietnam a good place to retire? Financially, the answer is an absolute yes. If you're living on a fixed income, Vietnam can give you a quality of life that would cost way more back home. But financially easy doesn't mean it's more practical. The biggest thing holding Vietnam back is the lack of a straightforward retirement visa. And as you get older, healthcare access and ease of getting around becomes much more important. So I would say Vietnam is an amazing place to retire in, but it's probably not the easiest country to retire to. And that's an important difference. If you had $1,500 a month guaranteed for the rest of your life, would you retire here? I would say I would, but the answer might be different for everybody depending on what's more important to them and the lifestyle that they want to live. If you have any further questions and you want to know more about retiring here in Vietnam, go down to the description, set up a one-on-one consultation with me. I offer 30 minutes and 60 minutes so I can answer every question you need, as well as you can join my channel membership to support me. And make sure you hit the like button, because when you do, an airplane will appear over the like button.